Hello everyone, and in today's video we are going to be talking about how you, an over 40 masters rower, can train more effectively, can avoid burnout, can increase your health while also rowing to the best version of yourself, while also increasing your motivation and just having generally better balance. So that's more generally the training method that I recommend. Today's video is going to be about the specifics of how you can figure out your exact training zones and why, as you age, as you get over the age of 40, the way you need to calculate your training zones for this approach changes, and it becomes different than rowers that are, under 40, under 30, which again is what a lot of the data is based off of incorrectly. So for those that are new here, my name's Jack Burns. I'm the founder and head coach of Edge Rowing, where we work with busy professionals, getting them rowing to the best versions of themselves. And yeah, in this video, we're going to again walk through everything, but also at the end, we've got a little gift as well, which, to be honest, if you want to see what the gift is, just read the description because it'll be right there. But I'm going to encourage you to wait until the end of the video, until you watched all the video, to understand how to use it. Because yeah, if you understand it, you're going to be able to implement it better. You believe in it more, it'll be more effective. So here we go. Alrighty, heart rate training for over 40s. Again, the big thing with this is let's just avoid wasting your training time. Let's be more effective. Again, most over 40s, they have other commitments. They've got jobs, family life, other priorities in life. So we want to be really effective with our training time. And this is all going to be all about how you can avoid doing that. But first off, I want to make sure that you understand why it's different for someone that is over the age of 40. So first off, if you've never heard of polarized training before, essentially what it is, I'll do a crash course. I've got other videos on this, so I know most viewers will be familiar with this, but if you're not, essentially what it is, you spend 80% of your time going very, very easy, which is what this video is mainly going to be about, figuring out how easy you need to go as an over 40. 0% of the time in the middle, which is where most of the people spend their time when they're doing, quote, their UT2. And then 20% of the time, this is the easiest one to work out. It's like, just go as hard as you can. So again, there's just a bit of a crash course on this. Polarized, I apologize, I've spelt this wrong here. This is a typo. I have big massive thumbs. Okay, give me a break. The low intensity side of it is a bit more specific. So this is generally when you're under 40, the heart rate one. So 65 to 72% of your max heart rate is where you want to sit when you're under 40, and it can still work when you're over 40, but it becomes less accurate. One of the other ways is use 50% of your 2K watts. So go to concept2.com, put in your 2K. If you have a 2K, of a recent 2K anyway. I know most masters don't do them, but again, this is just a simple way of figuring this out. Or another one is 2 to 4 out of 10 in terms of effort. 10 being the hardest, and then the sentence test. So it would be like this: you're rowing, I can say a full sentence right now without losing your breath. Then the high intensity, again, we don't want to do any of that mid intensity, which would be here, so we're going to ignore that. High intensity, high intensity training. Look, go hard, okay? Just go hard. That's as simple as it is. Total work time is around 10 to 25 minutes on average. So 10 minutes might be something like 10 times 1 minute on, 1 minute off. 25 minutes could be something like, 3 by 2K or something like that. But yeah, the high intensity stuff, we're not going to talk about that this much. Maybe do some other videos on that, but it's just go as hard as you can. But into the specifics. So as you age, your sympathetic nervous system, your flight or fight response decreases. So your sensitivity, your nerve sensitivity decreases. And why this is relevant is because when we work at the lower intensities, when we're working to a lower intensity, you're not using as much of that flight or fight response. It's more the efficient low end work, your mitochondria. So what this means is because you're using your sympathetic nervous system, you're not, using your sympathetic nervous system as much, your max heart rate is going to be lower than it would have been when you're younger. So when you're calculating your heart rate based off of your the 220 minus your age, that max heart rate is dropping at a faster rate than what your low intensity is. So the whole point of this video, if you can only take away one thing, the whole point is your high-end work, your high-end heart rate drops quicker than the rate at which your low-end heart rate drops. And that's why, that low-intensity training becomes harder to figure out. So, again, with our heart, so to be honest, I like learning about this stuff. I like understanding it. It doesn't quite make sense to me why this has an effect on our max heart rate. So basically the amount of blood that your heart can pump per heartbeat decreases. And part of your body's response to that as you age is that it decreases the max heart rate as well. It's, again, to be honest, I don't quite understand this one yet. And I was hesitant to include it because I'm not currently able to fully explain it, but I didn't want to just let that be a reason why I'm not telling you about it, because it's still true. But anyways, part of the reason our max heart rate decreases is at a faster rate than our lower end heart rate decreases is because our stroke length, the amount of blood we can pump per heartbeat, decreases as we age. So a big thing with training into higher intensity, so the way that when we work at a low end intensity, it's very, very efficient. We use, again, this is less relevant for today, but we use the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, which you remember high school biology. The powerhouse of the cell. When we do low end intensity, easy intensity, that 80%, we're mainly using that mitochondria. But when we shift into that higher end intensity, we start doing the mid, we start doing the high intensity, the way our body moves up through those energy systems is it basically produces these hormones called catecholamines. And to be honest, I maybe didn't really need to include the catecholamines thing. I could have just said hormones. It's adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. These are the kind of hormones that get produced to increase our rate of our heart rate and our and to tap into these high-end intensities. And as you age, our bodies, that's why I've made these videos for the first time. I've not made them, but we've got this guy here. This is supposed to be your heart being like, nah, I'm not using these anymore. It's a really effective way to produce energy, but it's also a very inefficient way to produce energy. So as we age, part of our body's preservation is it stops being responsive to them. And again, it's another reason why our max heart rate decreases at a faster rate that our low intensity decreases. So one of the other ones, again, I was kind of just talking about this here. Low end intensity is super, super, super efficient. So I've done another video on this, but at a low end intensity, when we're using, basically, again, we use fats, oxygen, carbs as energy. To keep this simple, we're just going to talk about carbs. Basically, when we're working at the low end intensity, we're mainly using the mitochondria, and we're mainly using kind of fats and carbs. But for this example, when you use one carb, you get 32 units of energy. When we're working to the high end intensity, basically what's happening is there's energy being produced in the cell, but when we work to high end intensity, energy starts getting produced outside of the cell as well. So part of that energy production outside of the cell, it's really quick, but it's also very inefficient. And for every 1 unit of carb that we input, I believe it's around 4 units of energy that you get out. So it's far less efficient. And again, this is just, our body really likes this. And as we age, it really likes to lean towards this lower intensity energy production source. But yeah, so I just wanted to give you guys a background as to why you need to pay attention to this as you age as a Masters rower, because what happens is if you use the most common methods of figuring out what your heart rate is, which is 65, like the Garmin's will do this as well, you know, the Apple Watches, they'll do the same thing. They'll tell you your low intensity is often lower than it needs to be. And it's wrong. It's based off the advice. It's based off the data that they have from, you know, Olympians or elite athletes that are in their 20s or early 30s. So what we've done, and again, the way that we approach doing this for our athletes is we look at their data and make sure, and again, it can be quite individual, it can be quite one-to-one, but we look at their data and make sure that they're getting the appropriate training responses to the training that we prescribe for them. And often, if they're not getting the responses to the training that we prescribe to them, one of the first factors that we look at is their UT2, is their low intensity too hard, or is it too easy? And the only way we can do this is we start off with those metrics of the heart rate, the percentage of their 2K watts or their 1K watts or their 5K watts, and using their effort. But the most accurate way we have found is by using their data. So what we've done, obviously everybody watching this video, we can't do this for you. So what we've done is we put together a tool. We've gathered together all this data on people of different ages, different levels, different max heart rates. And we basically made this free tool that anybody can have. So essentially all it is you put in your age, you put in your kind of highest heart rate that you've seen, your resting heart rate, your today's resting heart rate, and then if you put in your 2K or your 5K scores that are relatively up to date or an estimation of it, it'll give you your heart rate, and it'll give you, you know, the splits that you need to be hitting for your zones. And it's just a far more accurate way of training. And the way you can do it, pretty simple. Just head into the description, click on the link, and you'll get the tool sent to you. So yeah, really encourage you to do it. It's totally free. And if you're over 40, and even if you're under 40 as well, to be honest, it's an effective tool. It's still accurate for people that are under 40 as well. But yeah, really hope that you get to use the tool, that you go out, grab it, and start taking advantage of it, and just making sure that you're maximizing your training time. So all the best. Like and subscribe if you want us to help you get your zones right, get you rowing to the best versions of yourself without the burnout, without, you know, sacrificing your brain space and causing decision fatigue, that's taking, you know, your energy away from what you're really good at and what you want to prioritize more. Let us take the thinking out of it for you. Then you can also, I'll put the link in the thing for you to apply to our coaching. We don't work with everybody. We're normally pretty capped on how many people we can work with. So that's why we put quite a lot of effort into making these videos, because we want to help as many people as possible. It's just quite capped through the one-to-one. But if you want to see if you're a fit for the one-to-one, then head to the link in the bio and fill it out. But if not, keep enjoying these videos. I enjoy making them anyway, so I'm going to keep doing them. And yeah, all the best. Hope you have a great day. Like and subscribe, please.